there, my name is Ananya Kachru and I'm a junior at Amity High School. So throughout pre-calculus, a really important topic has been radian measures. It's something that we first learned in this class and it's come time and time again in our coursework, so it's definitely something that you're going to want to know. And you're also going to probably see these in standardized tests too. You might see it on the PSAT, you might see it on the SAT, possibly even subject tests as well. So we want to make sure that you understand this concept and really know how to apply it. There are going to be three main objectives for this video. The first one is going to be defining what is a radian. Second, when and where would you use a radian measure? And last, but certainly not least, how do you convert between degrees and radians? And this is something that might seem a little confusing or scary at first, but that's totally alright. You're completely capable of using radians and knowing what to do. So this video is going to be targeted to anyone and everyone. Whether this is the first time you've heard about what a radian is and you're wondering, what is a radian? Or maybe you learned about this in class and you're really just trying to get some extra practice and understand those skills. We're just going to make sure that you understand it completely and know how to apply it in school. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so if you are watching this video, it either means that you have a fascination with angles or you have heard of angles before and you measure them using degrees. So, when you were probably in 3rd grade, you learned that if you had an acute angle, it had a degree measure less than 90. Or if you had a right angle, it had a degree measure of exactly 90 degrees. And that's how you measured angles, using degrees. Well, today we're going to talk about an alternative system by using radian measures. So radian is just another alternative way of measuring an angle, but it has a different definition to what it is. The definition of a radian is the ratio between arc length and radius length. So you divide the arc length by the radius length and you get the radian value for a specific angle. Okay, so we're going to look for an example to see how this really applies. Over here you can see I drew a circle, and I know it's not a perfect circle, but please bear with me. And what you're going to want to notice is we're looking for the measure of this angle. Now, I know that you could come and measure it and find the degree measure, but what we're going to do in a much more simple way is find its radian measure, using the definition that I explained of the ratio between the arc length and the radius length. So you can see over here we define the arc length as 6 inches. Let's say that this radius length is 3 inches. When you divide the 6 by the 3, because once again that's the ratio between the arc length and the radius length, you get 2 radians. So that would mean that this would have the value of 2 radians as the measure of the angle. Simple enough, right? That's how you would measure certain angles instead of taking out a protractor and looking for its degrees. Okay, so you're going to want to know 2 main conversion factors for this unit, and this is going to come back time and time again in many scenarios, so make sure you get them now. So the first one is going to be how do we convert between radians and degrees. So going back to that whole definition of what is a radian, you have the arc length divided by the radius length of the circle, correct? Okay, so let's say we had pi over 4 radians for a particular angle, and we wanted to convert that to a degree measure because we need to do that for a math problem, or we're just curious to know what the degree measure would be. So when we have pi over 4 radians, we would multiply that by a conversion factor of 180 over pi. So what would happen is the pi's would cancel out and you would just have 180 divided by 4, which is also known as 45. So this way we know that pi over 4 is the same as 45 degrees, right? Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now moving on to the second main conversion factor that you're going to want to know. We have degrees to radians. I'm going to give you a problem that says let's find the radian measure for 360 degrees, a full circle. So you're going to be looking at that circle and you're going to multiply by a conversion factor of pi over 180. So that's the reciprocal of your other conversion factor. And the 360 and the 180 are going to cancel out to 2 on the numerator, and that just becomes 2 pi because you multiplied by that pi over 180. So you know now that a full circle has a radian value of 2 pi. So let's repeat both these conversion factors once again, just slowly to make sure you get them, because these are two factors that you're going to have to use in multiple problems in many scenarios throughout this week, the next week, 2 months from now, 4 months from now. It's just going to keep coming. Okay, so now we're going to look at that first conversion factor again. You have pi over 2 this time around, and your job is to get that radian value into a degree value. So let's think about what your plan of action is going to be from now on. You're going to be multiplying by the value of 100 over pi, 180 over pi, which is your conversion factor. Once again, 180 over pi. So you're going to multiply that pi over 2 by 180 over pi. The pi's will cancel out, and 180 divided by 2 gives you a value of 90 degrees. So when I ask you, what is the degree value of pi over 2 radians, you are within seconds going to be able to tell me 90 degrees because of that conversion factor. Now let's look at the flip side. So this time around, you're going to have a conversion factor to go from degrees to radians, and I'm going to give you 540 degrees for this problem. What's going to be your plan of action? If you answered using the conversion factor of pi over 180, you are correct and on the money. All right, so let's say we have that 540 degrees. That's going to cancel with using the conversion factor of pi over 180 to simply 3 pi. So anytime someone's going to ask you, what is the conversion from 540 degrees to a radian measure, within seconds you're going to be able to tell them 3 pi because you know that conversion factor of pi over 180. So you really want to make sure that you understand both of these conversion factors deeply. So once again, just to repeat it. Your conversion factors for going from radians to degrees is 180 degrees over pi, and on the flip side, when you're going from degrees to radians, you're going to use the reciprocal of that and have a conversion factor of pi over 180 degrees. So now you might be wondering when specifically you are going to use the radian measure. So first off, remember that it is an alternative system. You do have the degree system, and by using radians, you have another way of measuring an angle, which is really powerful if you think about it. For example, if you're given a scenario where you have the arc length and the radius length, and they want you to find the measure of an angle, you're going to be able to directly find the measure of that angle using radians, because that's the definition of a radian, arc length divided by radius length. You aren't going to need to pull out your handy dandy protractor, even though it might be very handy. You're still not going to need to pull it out and use it to measure the degree value, because you're easily going to be able to represent the measure of the angle through radians. But then it also might just be simpler for calculations. If you have to do a lot of calculations, it might be nicer to use pi over 4 rather than 45 degrees. And that's just something you want to keep in mind because you have options now. I mean, it's never bad to have more options. So this is just an alternative system of representing the measure of an angle rather than using degrees. And it's really powerful, so I really hope that you understand it by now. All right, so that's actually it for today. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment down below or email me at ananyakachru@gmail.com. I really do hope this helped you understand something more about radians, or maybe just practice some more of your skills. Don't forget that it's an alternative way to measure angles. It's a really important tool that gives you more options, and it also has some really important conversion factors that you're not going to forget. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. Good luck on your exams. Whatever you have coming up, you're going to do amazing. Bye, friends.